AI improves our technology and we feed AI electricity, clean electricity. I think that's definitely an amazing collaboration. We were contacted by Qatar Energy that wants a project on their oil platforms, which is an interesting contact because they don't officially work with Israel, but still they're very interested in our technologies. So EcoWave Power developed an innovative technology for generation of clean energy from sea waves. We basically connect to existent man-made structures like piers, breakwaters, and jetties. We connect floaters, which are going up and down with the movement of the waves. And this up and down movement is creating clean electricity that can power the grid, or that can power data centers, or basically can power everything. I think that shows really that people start understanding the importance of wave energy.
I'm alive, no matter what you say. Bless your heart, need it in the worst way. La la la, la 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 la. I'm a champion, la la la.
Hello, I'm Sharona Justman. I'm the co-founder of the Israel Conference, bringing you another episode of our conversations. Israel means business. Today, we're talking about waves from the ocean, sending waves into the market for the demand for real, powerful energy. That means we're talking about real climate tech and real energy tech. This is the kind of forward thinking that will clean power data centers and cities. We're joined today by Ina Braverman, an incredible visionary CEO of the publicly traded company called EcoWave, who sees the electricity hidden in our oceans. EcoWave has a technology that seems to emanate from the first paragraph of the Bible that starts with Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, and continues with the next words about energy and waves, Ruach Elohim mirachefet al pnei hamayim, meaning the energy sweeping over the water. That's a powerful backstory to EcoWave, which now trades on NASDAQ with the symbol WAVE, W-A-V-E, giving our watchers an opportunity to be part of EcoWave too. So Ina, we want to know a bit about your miraculous personal story. But first, tell us a bit about the technology behind WAVE.
First of all, thank you for having me here, Sharona, and I'm glad to share about our company and technology. So EcoWave Power developed an innovative technology for generation of clean energy from sea waves. We basically connect to existent man-made structures like piers, breakwaters, and jetties. We connect floaters, which are going up and down with the movement of the waves. And this up and down movement is creating clean electricity that can power the grid, or that can power data centers, or basically can power everything.
So if you can power everything, where are you powering cities or ports, and how do you do it?
So right now we have our grid connected project up and running for almost 3 years in Jaffa Port in Israel. This is the first time in Israel's history that wave energy is officially connected to the national electrical grid through a power purchase agreement with the electrical company. We received funding for this project from EDF, Électricité de France, and also through the Israeli Energy Ministry, which recognized our technology as pioneering technology. And we're very, very proud to have kind of our first grid-connected project in Israel. And in September last year, we also opened the demonstration project in the Port of Los Angeles to demonstrate to the ports and to California that wave energy can successfully work in this area as well. And as we're speaking, we're also working our next projects, which will be in Portugal, Taiwan, and India, and we're very excited about it.
Well, you're all over the world. I'm sitting here right now in Los Angeles, and when I was a teenager, I would get some energy from the ocean as well, as I would, if you can believe this, I would body surf in the water. So I knew how to collect the energy of the wave while I was standing there. Let's dive a little deeper into the technology. How do you attach a piece of equipment to collect the energy from the waves when you're in the ocean?
So what's unique about EcoWave Power is that we don't go deep into the ocean. As opposed to our competitors, which go 4 or 5 kilometers into the depth of the ocean, we are installing on a zone that is called the nearshore zone, meaning there are these bulky big breakwaters that all of us see every time we go on vacation or every time we're on the coastline that is wavy. So we take this structure that's made of cement or of stones, and we connect floaters to the external part of that structure, and the floaters are just moving up and down with the movement of the waves, pushing hydraulic cylinder, which transmit kind of the pressure to a land-located accumulators, and the pressure is used to turn the hydro motor, turning a generator, and creating clean electricity. So it's a little simpler than it sounds, and we like the fact that it's simple because we really don't want to put anything that's too complicated in the water.
So in the Port of Los Angeles, you are partnering or being sponsored with Shell.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Shell is well known for oil,
Mm-hmm.
but also being involved in energy creation. Could you dive a little bit more deeply into that relationship and how it brought you ultimately to the Port of LA?
So first of all, I think that nowadays many oil and gas companies are looking for, alternative energy generation technologies. Look at what happened in the solar industry and the wind industry. Those grew from like very small niche industries to kind of gigantic power producers, and this power is definitely needed right now with the, in the AI and data center era where, the data centers drink a lot of energy. So I think, again, even traditional energy companies understand the importance and the high potential that there is in renewable energy, and nobody wants to kind of miss out on the opportunity. So except working with Shell on the Port of LA project, we also, the new deal that we're executing right now in India is with Bharat Petroleum. Bharat Petroleum is a Fortune 500 oil and gas company in India. So I think, it's clear to see that like wave energy is a high potential industry. According to the World Energy Council, wave energy on its own can produce twice the amount of electricity that the world produces now. And if we're looking at from the US angle, according to the Energy Information Administration, wave energy can generate up to 66% of all the United States energy need. That's a game changer. So we think Shell collaborating with us is kind of looking in the right place in the right time. We want to commend Bharat Petroleum also for working with us for the first project that we're planning to do in India, which will be probably in Mumbai Oil Terminal, which is their site. And, any other companies that are talking to us, like we were contacted by Qatar Energy that wants a project on their oil platforms, which is an interesting contact because they don't officially, work with Israel, but, still they're very interested in our technology. So I think that all of this is like a very, very good sign.
The beauty is that through your waves, you're creating global peace by causing people to want to partner. Now, it's very interesting that you're able to attach your technology to the platforms that the oil companies have set up in the ocean. So in a way, there's a future use for clean tech from the oil companies where the world has such a love-hate relationship. How have you navigated that part of the relationship with the oil companies?
Listen, from our point of view, any partner or client is, great. We can learn from everybody. Companies like Shell or like Bharat Petroleum, there have been like many, many years in the energy field. They have great connections to government. They have great funding sources. EcoWave Power is a smaller company, obviously. So I think we have the advantage of maybe moving fast and kind of, organizing faster, pivoting faster as a smaller scale company. So maybe these giants have something to learn from us about like speed and execution. And we can learn from them definitely and use their resources in terms of government connections, in terms of, financial possibilities and so on. So I think kind of it's a win-win situation to collaborate with those companies.
Do you see if EcoWave can be part of this new wave of energy creation, that ocean technology can replace some of the oil-based or petroleum-based technology for energy?
So I think in the longer term, definitely, because as I said before, according to all the scientific studies, the potential of wave energy is massive potential. So if we would really, invest like a small percent of what has been invested in other renewable energy sources into wave energy, you would get like a very, very big market. Also, wave energy is the least intermittent source of renewable energy. So as opposed to solar energy, which is an amazing source, but then you have the night or cloud coverage or pollution that kind of hides the sun and you produce nothing because the night comes every day, so you're not going to be able to produce anything. Wave energy in suitable location can actually produce 24/7 around the clock. And I think that's very, very important. I think another big advantage of wave energy, especially in the era that we are right now, what I call the AI era, is that a lot of the data centers are moving towards the edge, meaning they're being installed in location like ports. They're being next to ports because they need also the cooling effects of the water, and so on. So for us, that's also a perfect candidate because they need a lot of electricity. They're located exactly where our technology is. We can connect directly to data centers and bypass, the queue in the grid or all kind of bureaucratic steps and regulations that usually you have to take to connect to the grid, and then execute much larger projects faster. So I think
Can EcoWave overcome some of the objections that are being placed around data centers because of their energy consumption? Is this an alternative to the problem that the communities are suggesting will happen with an energy center in their community?
So I think that EcoWave Power can definitely be a big part of the solution, because part of the objections that I'm hearing, if it's about data centers, if it's about electrical cars, if it's about anything that takes a lot of electricity, is okay, it's great that it's electrical and you're not burning like fossil fuels, but where does the electricity come from? Because if in the end of the day the electricity comes from oil or gas or coal, or diesel, which is like the worst and the most expensive one, then of course, it doesn't make sense. You just create more pollution. Like right now already, according to studies of the World Health Association, for example, 1 out of 7 people in the world, I don't mean to sound negative, but 1 out of 7 people in the world die premature death directly because of pollution from the way that we produce our energy. So given the fact that AI is expected to double the world's energy needs, so meaning double the pollution, I definitely think that the population would accept data centers next to their home or in their port or in different locations more if they use clean electricity versus polluting sources.
Which brings us really to the whole era of AI. You are being touted by NVIDIA in a very high way as a solution. Tell us a little bit about what is the resonance that's happening from Jensen Huang's recent comments about EcoWave.
So first of all, we are very, very proud to be featured in 2 of Jensen Huang's keynote speeches. We were featured in the GTC that he did in San Jose as a digital twin of our technology, and also our technology in Jaffa Port, Israel. I was actually sitting there in the crowd, and that was a very, very exciting and touching moment for me. And the second time was actually a pleasant surprise. We didn't even know that we are going to be featured now in Taipei, in Taiwan, which is a location where we're developing one of our projects. So that's kind of, a nice, a nice turn of events. So NVIDIA has been very good. We're also discussing using some of their tools like Omniverse that creates digital twins, and other NVIDIA's tools in order to improve our technology. And I think that really wave energy for data centers can be a win-win situation for everybody, because EcoWave Power can really use AI to improve and upgrade our technology to produce more power, to optimize our power production, while companies that require a lot of energy for activation of these data centers can enjoy our energy. So AI improves our technology and we feed AI electricity, clean electricity. I think that's definitely an amazing collaboration.
It is an amazing accomplishment. And so, which makes me wonder, do you see competition out there for EcoWave? What is it presently, and where do you see the attraction of money going to help other companies touch the ocean?
So 99% of the developers in wave energy, they're older companies that EcoWave Power, that were established before us, and most of them decided to go into the offshore, in the middle of the ocean. So they're in completely different operational zone. I think definitely that there's room for any type of wave energy, onshore, nearshore, offshore. But the offshore zone right now is too complicated. That's the reason I believe that wave energy haven't commercialized so far. Because when you're putting something in the middle of the ocean, you need ships, you need divers, you need underwater mooring, you need cables. So the cost becomes sky high. Also in the offshore, you have tsunami waves of 20 meters and even higher, and no stationary man-made equipment can survive the loads of a 20-meter wave height. So a lot of them broke down, which didn't give additional credibility or reliability to the industry. So I think that right now EcoWave Power is a pioneer in what we're doing, that we're actually connecting two existing structures. And by doing that, we actually control the cost, we minimize the cost by hundreds of millions of dollars per each installation. And we have reliability because our technology comes with a patented storm protection mechanism. So when the waves are too high for the system to handle, our floaters automatically go up above the water level and they stay in the upward position until the storm passes. Then they go back into the water. So I would definitely say that EcoWave Power is a pioneer. We achieved something. We achieved a cost level and reliability and survivability level that other companies haven't achieved. With that said, I would like to see wave energy industry growing. I would like to see more wave energy companies executing projects, because then, EcoWave Power wouldn't be the only one kind of knocking on government's door asking for regulation and legislation. There would be other companies that can open the door for us. We can also expand the supply chain. The more people that are buying the same supply chain, the more attractive you can get prices. And I think kind of a very positive sign that I saw recently to the awakening, I would say, of wave energy and to understanding how big the potential of wave energy is I just read an article in Business Wire that Peter Thiel, which is one of the most famous investors in the world, invested together with few funds $140 million into a wave energy company, an offshore wave energy company, in a market valuation of $1 billion. That company is like just testing. They're like in their initial prototyping, from what I understood. They didn't connect to the grid yet, according to my knowledge. So having like Peter Thiel and big, sustainability and climate related funds invest $140 million at a $1 billion valuation of a wave energy company, which the goal of the wave energy company is, according to their statement, to power data centers. I think that shows like really that, people start understanding the importance of wave energy.
So in that regard, are there startups that are emulating what you're doing? Mm-hmm. And do you have patentable processes that they're licensing from you, creating an additional revenue stream for EcoWave?
So we definitely have a very in-depth patent portfolio. We have 18 patents and patents pending. 13 patents are approved, 5 patents are pending. We also have an international PCT. So we definitely have a big portfolio. As to startups or other companies that are trying to develop wave energy, of course, there always are. Again, most of them are still in the kind of offshore zone because that's where they originally focused. So, they won't pivot from something they already kind of are in deep research for. With that said, look, as I said, I really, really want to see success also of other companies in the wave energy field. So we even had a situation that another wave energy company that wanted to do a testing on, on a breakwater in Greece, contacted our company and asked for help. How do we connect the equipment to the seawall? And we actually helped them. We sent them sketches and we helped them free of charge because we wanted to see the project succeed. And we wanted to see more wave energy projects out there. So we're super open. We believe that also, a technology company that has a good technology can feel very comfortable to help other companies as well. And I think that's a good thing to,
So Ina, I have 2 questions here. The first one is, as the co-founder of EcoWave, what was the most expensive lesson that you learned in the beginning that you'd like to share with another deep tech founder?
So I think maybe just to trust my instincts and kind of believe in myself, because I don't come from a technical background and I'm usually kind of the only woman in the room every time there's like, a technical meeting or, an R&D meeting. And like in the beginning, when I opened the company, I was 24 years old. And, I was sitting there with engineers that are much, much older and more experienced, obviously, than I am. And, I would look at a sketch that they're showing me or at an idea, and I would just know that it wouldn't work or that something should be changed. And so, I was maybe like shy or not comfortable enough to tell, like, who am I, like, to tell them what will work or what will not work, as they're engineers and older and I'm younger, a woman and non-engineer. So kind of, I think I didn't like stand up necessarily for what I believed was correct. And as once or twice, like I let something like that, happen, and I saw that the result was exactly what I imagined or anticipated it to be in the beginning, I think that kind of like taught me a big, big lesson to go with my instincts and my belief.
And to be vocal in your thoughts. So you're saying that your non-engineering background actually gave you an advantage so that you could see a solution that others were caught in their engineering detail brains, but you could see it as a businesswoman, you could see the next step more clearly?
So I think as a non-engineer, like being involved in a kind of engineering related company, you're definitely thinking outside the box, because engineers many times they see black or white. They see, like, for example, why did most wave energy companies go into the offshore zone? Why all of them are trying to implement wave energy in the middle of the ocean? Most of the CEOs of those companies are engineers. They saw research that obviously in the offshore you have waves of 20 meters, like huge tsunami waves. They're saying, wow, if I can put something in the water that can harness a 20 meters wave height or like super high waves, then the amount of electricity they can generate there is, insane. I looked at it more from a business perspective. Like, it's amazing that you have like such big waves in the middle of the ocean, but how are you going to install it there? How much is it going to cost? Is it going to survive? If you have a malfunction and the malfunction happened during a storm, which person in his right mind would sit on a boat in the middle of a huge storm and like ride the wave, no pun intended, to the power station and try to save the equipment, So kind of I thought of it more like, okay, it has to cost X, it has to survive Y amount of years, like 25 years preferably, because that's what solar and wind survive. It needs to be insurable. Who wants to insure something in the middle of the ocean that, after many failure stories? It should be environmentally friendly, meaning not to create a new presence on the ocean floor, and that is achievable only through connecting to something that's already there. It has to connect to the grid. How do you connect to the grid when you're in the middle of the ocean? There's no users there, so you need to run very long underwater cables. That's expensive. So kind of I just looked at it more from a commercial perspective than from an engineering perspective.
That's the way to go in business, without a doubt. But with all of your good insights, Ina, what caused you to be interested in wave tech instead of any other technology?
So I think two things, definitely. One of the things is like personal, and one of the things is like, I would say, more like professional. So I'll start with the professional, because that's what we were kind of talking about so far. So professionally, like, I just saw that wave energy, according, as I said, to all scientific studies and every part of information I could find, wave energy is the largest renewable energy source in the world. 2/3 of the world population is living on the coastline. Wave energy simply makes sense. So I saw there's a huge demand for wave energy and a huge possibility in wave energy, but nobody making wave energy a reality. So I understood huge demand, no supply, big positive impact. So that's what drew me to that field professionally.
But your personal story has many incredible twists and turns to it.
Yeah.
So there's a correlation, it seems, between what you were talking about of anticipating disaster and having a solution for it.
Yeah.
Let's dive a little bit into your personal fantastical story.
Yes, so my personal story is, I would say, quite unique. I live in Israel most of the time, but like I was born in Ukraine in 1986. And 2 weeks after I was born, the Chernobyl nuclear disaster happened. There was an explosion of a nuclear power station. And, the government back then chose to hide the fact that there's an explosion or leakage of nuclear elements. So nobody knew that, you should be doing something or behaving differently. And as a baby, like, my mother approached my crib one day after the explosion happened. She looked down, she saw me pale, blue, not breathing, like I was clinically dead. And she ran to my dad and she was like, oh my God, my baby is dead. What do I do? And he said to her, you're a nurse, do something, And it's good that he was there, because then she remembered that she's a nurse, and she gave me a mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, which saved my life. So I got a second chance in life. I didn't remember it, obviously, I was a baby. But growing up, when I was 4 years old, we moved to Israel, and every time there was like a Shabbat dinner or a family gathering for a holiday, everybody would tell me, wow, it's so cool, you got a second chance in life. And I grew up with this feeling, it is cool, I got a second chance in life, I should do something good with it. And kind of when I heard the first time about wave energy, I understood, my first chance in life was taken away by maybe not such a safe way of producing energy, which nuclear. And maybe my second chance in life can be dedicated to harnessing clean electricity from the waves.
How long did you spend in Chernobyl?
So I wasn't in Chernobyl, luckily. I was like a city that's like a few hundred miles away from there. But like my first 4 years,
The first 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So right now in Chernobyl, people don't really live there. They come in to monitor the nuclear facility, but they don't really live there because of the concerns and the cancer that came out of it. If I can get personal, do you monitor your body to learn a little bit about the possible effects of the Chernobyl fallout?
So first of all, I think that there's definitely not enough information about the effects because from personal story, when I went back to Ukraine when I was already in my 20s to the same city I was born with my father, he was looking like kind of for his childhood friends or school friends, and most of them were not alive. So obviously we cannot attribute it only to Chernobyl, but that shows that kind of the health level, and we went there when he was 60. That's definitely an age that people are very healthy in and everything is good, and like he couldn't almost find any friends that were alive. So I think it shows how bad the impact was. My sister and I, we were both very, very ill until we left kind of that polluted zone, I would call it. I would like have very strange like diseases where my body would like poison itself with somehow. So even when we immigrated to Israel first, like, and I ended up in the hospital because my fever was skyrocketing and so on, my mom was trying to explain like which zone did we come from, or and what might I I might have. And you saw like Israeli doctors that had no experience obviously with that type of disease sitting next to my bed in the hospital with books trying to find what the hell can happen there and how to cure it. So kind of, and my sister had very strange, like she would get like blue marks, like bruises on her body, which are parallel, which are usually, according to my mom who's a nurse, are a sign of very, very high pollution in the air when you get parallel like bruises everywhere. But as we moved to Israel, I guess the air is much, much cleaner and everything was better. So after like few years in Israel, then like both of us felt like extremely well and didn't have, thank God, any side effects. And sometimes people ask me, do you have any side effects left? So I say, except the fact that I glow in the dark, then there's nothing.
Only with magic paint.
Exactly.
But that's a very good testimony of why to move to Israel. Not only can you be a developer of clean tech, but your body will be a recipient of a cleaner environment and become more healthy. That's another aspect of your amazing story, Ina. Ina, I think you're one of the youngest, brightest tech entrepreneurs out there, and it's a pleasure to know you. I hope that, especially since I live in Los Angeles, that the Port of LA converts the technology to power everything in LA, but also that in every country that you're present in, whether it's Portugal or Taiwan or India, that you are the game changer. And as we like to say here, designed in Israel to create a better lifestyle. So I want to thank you, Ina, for giving us an insight not only into EcoWave's story, Wave Tech, and your personal story. I thank you very much for all that you're doing in this category.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So to our listeners, please check out EcoWave's site on the NASDAQ, WAVE, and stay tuned and follow us for more amazing and incredible Israeli business stories that you'll want to know about. I'm Sharona Justman of the Israel Conference, and Israel means business. To see more conversations with extraordinary Israeli business entrepreneurs, visit theisraelconference.org.